Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Oh my gosh, my voice. All right. So, anyway, welcome back to another Motivational Monday episode. And of course, I will be waiting for you to pick up the notification signal that I'm already live, and then we'll start this conversation. And of course, I'd like to greet those who have been watching via replay. Thank you so much for all the support that you've been giving me and for this channel. And of course, if you feel like some of the videos can actually help out people and can actually make other people feel good, don't hesitate to share the video. So, once again, this is Motivational Monday. Welcome back and welcome to another episode of Motivational Monday. Our topic for tonight is all about knowing when to leave. I'd like to say hi to those who are watching live. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think it's kind of taking a toll on, no, not really taking a toll, but it's like there's a delay in sending notifications. Like I can't even see that I'm live on my own Facebook account. So anyway, I'd like to say hi to those who are watching live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back. And I hope you had a really happy weekend. And I hope you had a happy Monday. Kasi it's Monday once again. Alam nyo naman, mataas ang energy ko pag Monday. Pero kanina, I felt super tired. If I'm being honest, parang napagod ako sa Monday ko. But I'm not complaining. It's just a statement. I'm happy that I'm tired and fulfilled in what I did for my Monday routine. So I'd like to greet those who are watching live and of course sa mga nag-message po. Hello Sir Kilang, good evening po. Stay safe and God bless you too. Hello po Sir Jun Maroon, good evening. Thank you so much for the roses po ba yung isa? Feeling ko gumamela pero hindi ko sure kasi wala akong salamin. So hindi ko sure kung tama yung nakikita ko. Pero sure ako na yung yellow ay sunflowers. Okay, nakita ko tuloy yung nails ko sa camera. Okay, so anyway, again, our topic for tonight is a Motivational Monday episode. This is knowing when to leave. Kailan ba tayo dapat umalis? Okay, kasi this was inspired by a conversation last night with a friend of mine. She felt safe in her community until such time na na-realize niya na dinidiscriminate pala siya. Thank you so much sa hearts. Tsaka sa, ano ba tawag doon? Care, no? Thank you sa care. Okay, kahit sa mga hearts, thank you so much. Kasi last night I was having a conversation with a friend and she said na she felt really safe in that community and then suddenly she realized that she's being discriminated against. And she wasn't really asking for advice, but last night I felt like sometimes we are like that too, yung parang feeling natin safe tayo sa isang community and then we suddenly feel being attacked or minsan nararamdaman natin na hindi talaga tayo belong doon sa community na yon, ganyan. So there are reasons, there are reasons why people wouldn't like you to be a part of their group or to be a part of their community. There are reasons, various reasons. Pero as the person receiving, diba, receiving the treatment, you should know when you should tolerate and you should know when to leave. So that's our conversation for tonight. It's all about knowing when to leave. Sana hindi to duplicate episode, parang wala pa naman sa mga constant nanonood. Parang wala pa, no? Wala pa naman akong, wala pa akong know when to leave the episode. So anyway, to those who are watching for the first time, let me introduce myself. I'm Irene, real estate broker in the Philippines. I'm also a motivational speaker and a writer. And I do a lot of things in between, but for branding purposes, let's stick to that tonight. And of course, if you want to join the conversation, do not hesitate to post your comments on the comment section below. You can also send me a private message later on if you have questions that I haven't answered during this conversation. And again, our topic for tonight is knowing when to leave. Kailan ka ba dapat umalis? Okay? So, it's inspired by a conversation last night, and I hope if you can relate to the topic, you can definitely share your experiences as well. You can also share your comments, kung meron kayong comments, reactions, ganyan. The comment box is there, and yun yung advantage ng mga live podcasts, because you can always post your comments there. And as I always say, we don't really have to agree with everything. Pwede naman magkaiba tayo ng opinion, pero we will respect each other. This is a safe zone, so if you wanna share your comments or experiences or reactions, you are free to do so. You are safe. My page has always been a safe space or a safe zone. Walang judgment sa page na to. Alright? So again, the topic for tonight is knowing when to leave. Bakit nga ba natin kailangan malaman kung bakit tayo dapat umalis? Okay, there are several reasons why people leave. When I was a kid, I remember my mom telling me, if people have so many reasons to stay, they also have so many reasons to leave. And so that's life, people being the people that we are. Lahat tayo may dahilan magstay, lahat tayo may dahilan umalis. Pero sometimes, kung napapansin po ninyo, especially with us as Filipinos, mahirap sa atin mag-say no, nahihirapan tayong sabihin yung opinion natin. Sometimes we feel like we will be out of place if we say our piece or if we say our comments, parang ganyan. So, hindi tayo basta-bastang umaalis kahit na napuwing ako, sorry. Hindi tayo basta-bastang umaalis kahit na hindi na tayo masyadong masaya. Alam niyo yun? So tonight we are going to talk about that. How do we know the time to leave? Okay? Yay! Sir Joseph, thank you so much for tuning in. Hindi ka na yeah. Good evening. You're watching from Philippine Arena Mega Swabbing Facility and Bukawi, Bulacan. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat dyan sa ating mga bomberong swabbers sa Philippine Arena Mega Swabbing Facility. Para lang po sa kaalaman ng lahat, yung ating pong mga nurses from the Bureau of Fire Protection who are also firefighters are also serving in the Philippine Arena Mega Swabbing Facility. Sila po ang isa sa inyong mga bomberong swabbers na mga nurses din po. So ayan, kung nakapunta na kayo dyan, ayan, kaway-kaway po sa mga taga-Philippine Arena Mega Swabbing Facility. Ayan. Nauna na yung shoutout ko. Yan. Nauna na yung shoutout ko. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Hello, Maves. Thank you so much. I was supposed to wear the shirt that you gave me as a gift. So, Mabel here sent me an Oragon shirt. Kaya lang na-realize ko, kitang-kita sa camera yung mga gusot-gusot. And it's white. So, sabi ko, ay, wait lang, plansyahin ko. Ayan. Ayoko namang mukhang gusot yung damit ko sa camera. But thank you, Maeve. So if you want to promote your business, you can post them there. Yan. So, yun yung Tease Up. I think that's the brand. Tama ba ako? Minsan may senior moment ako eh. So, it's TEESUP. Tease Up. If I'm not mistaken with the brand. So, if you want to buy your Oragon shirts, and you can get in touch with Maybell right there. Her comment is on the comment section below. Okay. So, when do we know when to leave? Lunes to Lunes pa lang, ubos na yung ko. Ubos na yung ano matawag nito? Ubos na yung ideas ko. But anyway, okay. So, when do we know when to leave? The first one is when you're losing your sense of self. Hello po. Sir po ba or ma'am? Talents. Thank you so much po for tuning in. Sorry po, nagsi-senior moment ako ngayon. Kakalimutan ko na yung mga bagay-bagay. Okay. So, the first one, you should leave when you're already losing your sense of self. Medyo deep. Parang medyo deep yung number 1 ko. Okay. Why do we lose our sense of self? Siguro gagawin ko example sa loob ng family. Sometimes we give too much of ourselves. Okay? We give too much of ourselves that we tend to lose ourselves in the process. Parang yung sobra-sobra mong binigay yung pagmamahal mo, yung concern mo, yung effort mo, and then eventually na-realize mo, hindi mo nakilala yung sarili mo. So, that's also, maraming indicators yan, no? I think, this is a topic on its own, but just a glimpse. Sometimes we tend to love a lot that we forget how to love ourselves. And so, we tend to forget or we tend to lose our sense of self in the process na parang wala na tayong individuality. We always prioritize everyone. But then again, you have to remember that you cannot give from an empty cup. This is what I always say. And I really like what Hershey Hilado said, that you have to be selfish in order to be selfless. So you really have to prioritize yourself so that you can give more to other people, because it's not possible to give to other people when you are giving from an empty cup. So ganon. So if you're losing your sense of self, it's one of the indicators that you should leave. Okay? I mean, ano nga ba yung, by the way, bakit leave? Pwedeng leave temporarily. Tama ba? Yeah, leave temporarily or leave permanently. And leave is very generic here. I'm not being very specific here. Pwedeng umalis, nag-take a break, or pwedeng talagang literal na umalis. Like, you have to let go of that particular relationship and leave the person behind. Okay, so it's really up to you. But these are some of the tips, or these are some of the circumstances or the indicators that you should already leave when you've ticked siguro more than 5 doon sa 10 reasons natin when to leave. Hello po ma'am, this is Forever watching from Subic, Zambales. Thank you so much. Magandang gabi po. I'm supposed to go there sa Subic. Hindi ko maalala kung kailan sa schedule ko. Pero pag naalala ko pa, i-message ko kayo. Alam ko na sa schedule ko yung Subic trip. Okay, kasi may inspection kami. So anyway, I'll send you a message po, ma'am. Once that happens. Okay. So again, the number 1 indicator when we should leave is when we are already losing our sense of self. I'm not saying here na you don't give, you don't love, na parang may limits. But what I'm saying is, if you're giving too much to the point na parang nakakalimutan mo nila talaga totally yung sarili mo, tapos in the end, tatanungin mo yung sarili mo, why am I doing this? Kapag dumating ka sa puntong yun, ibig sabihin, unti-unti nawawala yung sense of self mo. So, do not go that far. If you already feel that you've been giving too much and not, kumbaga, hindi naman reciprocated, but merong ganun yung parang, when you're giving too much, parang may kulang na sa'yo. Kasi sa sobrang pagbibigay mo, parang ikaw yung nababawasan. Gets nyo ba? Tingnan nyo, Lunes na Lunes, parang sabaw ako. OMG, pagod na pagod ako kanina umaga. Okay, so next is, you should also leave when being alone doesn't frighten you anymore. I believe in one of the podcast episodes, I've mentioned this, and I'll say it again, especially if you are in an abusive relationship. How to know if you're in an abusive relationship, sinabi ko na rin po yan sa previous podcast episodes, so you can check some of the podcast episodes which aired probably April or May. Check nyo po yun, how to know if you're in an abusive relationship. Meron po akong podcast episode about it. But just a glimpse of knowing when to leave is, sometimes there are abusive relationships. And I'm not saying this only for women. I'm saying this for everyone. Men can also be abused. Men can also be last weekend, I was talking to a friend of mine na na-trauma siya dun sa girlfriend niya. Okay, so nag-confide siya na na-trauma siya because it was a very toxic relationship, he said. And so hindi ko sinasabing para sa mga babae lang to. There are abusive relationships or toxic relationships, and both men and women can experience that. So, if you feel that being alone doesn't frighten you anymore, then it's time for you to leave. Sometimes we don't leave abusive relationships or toxic relationships because we are scared of what's gonna happen next, or we are scared that we will be alone. Alam niyo, natatakot ka kasi mag-isa eh. Pero kung dumating yung time na hindi ka na natatakot mag-isa, when you're ready, you're free to leave. And I will tell you this very straightforwardly. Most people who are watching are probably my friends. I'm not sure, hindi ko nakikita kung sino yung mga bilog-bilog na. But yeah, I'm very vocal about this. If a relationship doesn't work well, and because I've never been really, I've never been really scared to be alone. I've always been really independent. Pero syempre, there came a point in my life where I got scared na, oh my God, baka hindi na ako makapag-asawa, ganyan. May mga ganun eh. Darating at darating ka sa point na yun ang buhay mo. And then, when I reached 30, tapos I still wasn't married, I was like, oh, this is liberating. Ano palang ganun. Parang darating at darating ka sa point na parang magda-doubt ka if you're okay with being alone. And then you will also reach a point where in your life where you will realize that it's actually okay din naman to be alone. I'm not recommending it, but it's also okay to be alone. Don't be scared to be alone. It doesn't mean that you're alone, you're lonely. Hindi porke mag-isa ka, malungkot ka. Okay, maraming nag-iisa pero masaya sila sa buhay nila. Yun yung goal, 'di ba? We don't always have to rely our happiness with somebody else. Okay? Or from somebody else. Tama ba? Yeah, 'di ba? Huwag tayo masyadong umasa sa ibang tao para sa kaligayahan natin. We should be happy on our own so that we can make other people happy too. Sige, message mo. Yes, ma'am. Thank you po. Hello po. Hi, Ma'am Jen. You're there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay. Next is, when do you leave? Number 3 reason. Or number 3 circumstance. Tama ba? Number 3 instance is when you're not gaining anything. Well, there are relationships that are mutually beneficial. Parang sa negosyo, di ba? Marami yan ng mga mutually beneficial, kaya nga may mga mergers and acquisitions, ganyan. Because it's mutually beneficial. But if you are in a relationship where it is not mutually beneficial, it's more painful than it is, yung joy na binibigay sa'yo ay mas konti kaysa doon sa pain na binibigay sa'yo, then it's time for you to leave if you're not gaining anything from that particular relationship. And I'm not saying that this is only about intimate relationships. It can also be work relationship. It can also be business relationship. It can be friendship, 'di ba? It can also be any type of relationship. If you are in a relationship where you're not gaining anything, like anything at all, hindi ka masaya, hindi ka nagbe-benefit doon sa relationship na yon, it's about time to consider if you should leave. Now, consider lang. I'm not saying that you leave immediately, di ba? Dahil lang napanood nyo. Baka mamaya dahil napanood nyo lang yung podcast episode na to, bigla kayong umalis talaga, di ba, na walang paalam. I mean, if you're listening right now and if you're thinking about leaving, then you should listen really well, carefully study about it, consider all the circumstances, consider all the pros and cons, and then that's the time you decide. Next is, there's consistent conflict with very little to no resolution. Okay, isa pa to. Madalas, meron tayong mga relationships. Okay, and I've also experienced this, yung relationship na parang puro na lang away. Parang araw-araw, away. Parang, this is what we call as immature relationships. Kasi if a relationship is mature enough, hindi kayo magkaka-conflict like every day. Yung ganon. So, kung magkakaroon man kayo ng conflict, it's always resolved. But there are relationships where away na lang ng away pero wala nang resolution. Hindi na nasusolve. Kumbaga, paulit-ulit na lang nagsusurface yung ano ba tawag nito? Yung mga issues ninyo, paulit-ulit lang nagsusurface. Hindi siya nawawala, hindi siya nababawasan, paulit-ulit lang siya. So, if there's a consistent conflict, with no resolution at all in that particular relationship, then this is also one of the things to consider if you should already leave that particular scenario or that particular relationship. Next is, ito pa, I always say this in previous podcast episodes, that communication is the foundation of every relationship. However, in our number 5 is when communication becomes difficult, even after working on it. Kumbaga, you're trying so hard to communicate with the other person. Parang ini-exhaust mo naman yung remedies mo. You're constantly pushing for a dialogue so that you will be able to understand each other. But still, kahit na anong effort ilagay mo, parang hindi pa rin talaga naaayos. Kumbaga parang tinatry ninyo pero kulang. Ganun yun, di ba? May mga ganong circumstances. So, again, you can consider this as a reason or a circumstance if you already feel that relationship will no longer be beneficial to you because the communication is just not working anymore. Then it's time for you to consider leaving that relationship. Next is when you feel like you're being taken advantage of. Again, there are several types of relationships. And if you feel that you are the only one giving and you cannot take anything from that particular relationship, because guess what? Every relationship is a give and take relationship. If you are in a relationship when you're just expected to give and you're not taking anything, it's not beneficial for you. It should always be two-way. Laging two-way, hindi po pwedeng mag-isa ka lang. Why? Because eventually, di ba nga sabi natin, kapag paulit-ulit kang nagbibigay, one day, mauubusan ka. Parang gano'n, for example, kung lagi ka na lang nagbibigay ng pera, for example, sa isang tao. Lagi ka nagbibigay. Darating yung point na mapapagod ka kakabigay kasi wala ka rin namang nakukuhang, kumbaga, somehow, nare-reciprocate. Kumbaga, panay ang pautang mo, tapos walang nagbabayad. Di ba, one day, kung hindi man yung pera mo yung maubos, pwedeng maubos yung pasensya mo. So, it's also the same thing with relationships. If you're the only one giving and you're not receiving anything, hindi na nga take kahit receive, wala kang nare-receive somehow, it can be draining. And at some point, it can even be considered as abusive, di ba? Kasi parang hindi na nga beneficial sa'yo. So, again, please consider that one as well. If you feel like you're being taken advantage of, well, it's about time to consider opening the door and closing it behind you. Next is when both sides are not putting efforts anymore. So if you are both effortless, if you are exerting less and less efforts, or sometimes wala na talagang effort at all, so it's about time to leave that relationship or that scenario or that circumstance in your life. So, kasi again, as I've mentioned, you should always have a give and take relationship or somehow give and receive relationship. It should not work like a one-way street. Paano pa kung pareho kayong nag-give up na? Pareho kayong dalawa, ayaw na ninyo mag-effort. So, it's about time. Okay. And also, as I've mentioned, hindi lang talaga to personal relationship. It can also be in the workplace. Kasi, di ba, minsan, sa work natin, parang mahal naman natin yung work natin, pero hindi tayo na po-promote kahit anong gawin natin. Parang kulang yung effort, parang laging may mas senior sa'yo, laging may mas magaling sa'yo, laging ganon. Kumaga, hindi ka talaga nabibigyan ng chance kahit sobrang galing mo naman, nag-exert ka naman ng effort. So parang ang nangyayari, it's one way. But there are so many companies na very rewarding mag-work with companies, with those companies kasi nakikita nila yung effort mo as a worker or as an employee, nire-reward ka nila. So that's what I mean by mutually beneficial. Kahit sa work, mararamdaman natin yon. Next is, ito medyo harsh. Number 8, when there is no future, you have to leave. And what does future mean? ano nga ba yun para sa atin? Kasal ba dapat yun? Okay, I will not cross that line. So, dapat ba kasal yung ending ng mga, dapat ba kasal yung parang destination ng mga relationships? Okay, I will not cross that line. I will not go that far. But all I'm saying is, if you are in a relationship where the guy or the girl pala, kahit sino, okay, where the other party feels like, they're planning and you're not a part of the plan, so you have to reconsider your stand. Kasi parang, plano ng plano, tapos hindi ka kasama dun sa future na pinaplano nila. Medyo masakit yun, besh, di ba? So, dapat i-consider mo kung talaga bang deserve mo magstay sa relationship na yan kahit na hindi ka naman kasama sa plano niya. So, I was also talking to another friend of mine last week. Sabi niya, kaya daw siya nakipag-break doon sa karelasyon niya kasi nung nagplano daw, parang, how do you see yourself 5 years from now or 10 years from now? Ang sagot sa kanya, parang puro career, ganyan. He wasn't a part of the plan. So, dun niya na-realize na, okay, we're not meant to be. It's about time to leave. Okay, so, you have to know if there is a future in what you're doing or if there is a future in that particular scenario that you're engaged in. Next is, of course, when you want something else. You have to leave when you know that you are pushing for another dream. For example, if you are currently employed, you don't like you don't like to work with your company anymore because you have a better dream. Hindi naman better dream, but you have bigger goals to fulfill. Kumbaga, na-fulfill mo na yung current dream mo, natapos mo na, so gusto mong mag-pursue ng another dream, then it's about time to consider leaving that company or that engagement. Okay, so if you want something else, also a reminder, because I think I've read this somewhere from a post of my friend. I don't know, parang nakita ko lang siya sa Facebook, na parang we should not be apologetic about what we want. Okay, if you want something else, you don't have to apologize for that. For example, if you're aiming for another dream, or if you have new goals, you don't have to apologize for that. You deserve it. If that's what your heart wants, then go for it. Okay? For as long as sure ka talaga sa gagawin mo. Okay? I think something fell. Hindi ko alam kung ano yung natumba. May nalaglag sa sala. Okay, next is when it's time to leave, when you lost respect for each other, or you lost respect for the company. For example, if we are talking about a relationship with your company, or if we are talking about a relationship with your colleagues, ganyan, it's time to leave when there's no more respect. Kasi respect is also one of the foundations of a strong and healthy relationship. So if you have lost respect for each other, you have lost respect, let's say, for the company that you're working for, because they have violated something, or maybe they do not align with your principles anymore, then it's time to consider leaving that company or leaving that person. Okay, so another thing for me personally, like I would leave any scenario which does not make me feel happy or comfortable, or which does not make me feel like me. Alam niyo yun, kasi may mga scenario na we feel like a stranger to it, like hindi siya natural with us. I don't know if I can find an example in my head before I end this conversation, but there are some scenarios which hindi talaga ikaw yun eh. Parang hindi siya talaga match sa personality mo, for example, or hindi talaga siya match sa goals mo. May mga ganon. And that's one of my considerations. If I'm not happy with what I'm doing, if this is not making me improve, if this does not make me a better person, then I leave. Ganun lang. Parang I'm not a big fan of wasting my time doing the wrong things na hindi match sa gusto kong mangyari sa buhay ko. Not necessarily wrong, but mismatch, kumbaga, hindi bagay sa gusto kong mangyari, parang ganon. Yun. So, kasi may mga ginagawa naman tayo, tama naman sila, tama naman yung ginagawa natin, pero parang hindi lang talaga siya match sa gusto natin gawin. For example, career, 'di ba? May minsan okay ka naman dyan sa career mo, pero parang feeling mo talaga it's not meant for you. Parang hindi ka masaya sa ginagawa mo. Oh yeah, you're earning money. You can pay for your bills, you can pay for you can support your family, but at the end of the day, you're like super drained because you don't know if you're happy, if you're really happy with what you're doing. Kaya I remember a friend of mine who was supposed to be a doctor. And then she realized that she didn't want to be a doctor. She actually wanted to be a photographer. So she flew out of the country and pursued her passion for photography. And she was about to graduate from her degree in being a medical doctor. And dun niya na-realize na parang hindi ako meant to be para mag-doctor. Ayun niya talaga. It was a noble calling, obviously. Being a doctor is a very noble profession. Pero she realized that it's not for her, so she quit. She had to leave. Okay, so that's one of the things that's one of the strongest examples that I have. Anyway, so at the end of the day, it's really up to us if we want to stay or if we want to leave. We should always have compelling reasons to stay. Okay, hindi dapat dahilan yung pagstay natin yung dahil malungkot ka or dahil natatakot ka mag-isa. Remember, it's okay to be left behind. It's okay to be left behind. Sometimes, isa kasi sa mga expectations natin is that people will always stay. But remember this, kung tayo nga meron tayong karapatang umalis, lahat ng tao sa paligid natin, meron din silang karapatang umalis from us. Okay, if they don't want to be with us anymore, they have the right to leave. So, I'm telling you this now, it's okay to be left behind. Okay? So, wag tayong matatakot na maging mag-isa. It's, if people want to, if people want to leave and because they're not happy, well, you should let them go. Kasi sabi naman nila, di ba, if they really love you, they will come back. If they don't, you weren't meant to be in the first place. Yes. Mapunta talaga doon. Okay. So anyway, I hope you were able to pick up a thing or two from the conversation for tonight. This is something that is very timely because recently, parang yung mga tao, they are like isolated and they kind of feel alone. But let me tell you this, it's okay to be alone. It's okay to be left behind. Paminsan-minsan may lungkot naman talaga. Pero ganun din naman eh. Hindi naman lahat din ng mga taong nasa relationship masaya sila 100% of the time. That's how life works. Whether you're alone or you have someone with you, there will always be ups and downs. And if you're alone and you have ups and downs, same lang din yun sa mga taong may mga kasama sa buhay. Ganun talaga. That's how life really works. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes, meron ding rain, meron ding flood, merong storm, ganyan. So, it's normal. Hello po, Tita Arlene. Thank you so much for tuning in. And okay, so that's our conversation for tonight, which is all about knowing when do we really leave a particular instance or a particular relationship or a particular scenario. Diba? So, sana nakakuha kayo ng mga insights on the 10 reasons that I stated tonight. And I hope that if you are in a relationship where you are unhappy and you feel you are not, kumbaga, your love is not reciprocated or your love, parang ikaw lang yung sobrang nag-e-effort, ganyan, please find it in your heart to understand why it's okay to be left behind or why it's okay to leave. Because it's not fair. We have the pandemic taught us this, and I've said this a million times again, I guess, sa mga previous podcast episodes, that the pandemic taught us that life is really short and we should really value what matters to us. So if a particular relationship doesn't serve us well, it doesn't make us happy, it doesn't make us feel good about ourselves, why do we have to stay? Okay? Tama na yung sinasabi natin na parang mga martyr, ganyan, hindi na dapat uso yun. Dapat sarili din natin. Kasi remember, you cannot give from an empty cup. You have to be happy so that you can make other people happy. If you're in an unhappy relationship, you cannot make other people happy too because you are in an unhappy relationship. So I hope I was able to share some insights which you can think about tonight bago kayo matulog, or kung meron man kayong mga kakilala na pwede na makarelate dito sa conversation na to, or maybe kailangan nilang marinig yung mga insights about knowing when to leave, please share this video, and I'll see you again on Wednesday for another Empowerment Wednesday. Hope you learned a thing or two from this conversation. Join me again on Wednesday at 8 p.m. for our Empowerment Wednesdays episode. I'd like to thank all the audience who watched live. Thank you so much for your constant support. And I'd also like to thank those who have been watching via replay. Thank you so much for constantly tuning in or for constantly supporting the channel. And if you have any suggested topics or recommended topics that you would like to hear or you would like to watch from this channel, please let me know so that I can invite people to talk about it as well. This month, we will be having Mr. Garing once again. One of our favorite speakers, featured speakers natin, isa sa mga paborito natin kasi ang dami talaga nating natututunan. Then we will also have someone from the finance industry na tuturuan naman tayo about financial literacy. This is a follow-up episode on the previous financial literacy episode that we had last summer. Yan, para may karugtong naman. Thank you so much, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.